Hey, everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Excited to have an old friend, JJ Reifler, on the show. JJ, hope all is good. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Doing great. Great to be here.
You know, JJ, I'm excited to have you on the show because I talk a lot about, on my podcast and these live podcasts, I talk a lot about, building brand ambassadors and the importance of building relationship capital with people. I'm 48. You've been my insurance guy since I was 23 years old. I've never talked to another insurance person. And people always say to me, like, would you ever leave? I'm not saying people, but I'd never leave, right? I mean, you do all my stuff, and you've been just white glove service, and you've been a great business partner and a great friend. And so I want to kind of touch on that today, right? We'll talk about, you're the vice president at Korotkin Insurance Group, and I'll put this up here so everybody can see. But talk to me about, just kind of go back 20, 30 some years on how you built the foundation of your business to build your brand ambassadors and to build your relationship capital with your clients.
Yeah, sure. For me and for everybody, it's different how they build relationships and go forward. For me, it was just getting to know people, letting them get to know me, understand what I'm about, how I like to do things, and building that trust. Trust is the most important thing. Doesn't matter if it's an attorney or a CPA or any other trusted advisor you have. You got to have that trust to listen to what they're going to have to say. If you don't have that, then whatever they tell you, whether they're right or they're wrong, isn't going to matter to you.
Right.
And, it's something that you build over time. And as people get to know you and, hopefully you treat them right and you earn, further trust by saying, hey, you helped me with this problem or that problem, or, maybe it didn't lead to a sale, but you gave me something that I didn't think about.
Yeah.
And all those things just add to the relationship.
But let's talk about the nuances of that, because, today I had a buddy of mine on yesterday. I love a buddy of mine. I had a buddy of mine on yesterday who talked about the importance of white glove concierge service, right? And we're moving kind of towards a market where there's concierge medical, there's even with COVID, right? We sit here, I kind of forget what day it is, but it's August 6th, right? I mean, in a way, curbside, a lot of this stuff is very concierge, right? Very one-on-one, white glove service. And it requires a tremendous amount of follow-up, right? I mean, we recently did something where, I needed something done kind of in a quick minute. And, you were right on it, right? It may have thrown a jolt in your day, but you and your team were right on it. And so, but that's, I think, the type of service that people expect today innately. Like, it's not even, it's like, that's the base. So how do you service your people where everybody feels like they're getting that attention today?
Well, I think we've built the culture with our employees that they understand that first and foremost, we're a customer service business. Doesn't matter how many sales we make. If we don't service those customers, they're going to find it someplace else.
Correct.
Today, people somewhat want to be able to do everything from their phone and instantly or this and that. Now, we've made a decision to maybe not do everything that way, but they'll call me, they'll get a hold of me, or they'll get a hold of my staff, and we'll take care of that for them, because there's still a value in that, again, added benefit, not necessarily self-service, but knowing that we're going to take care of it for them, because maybe they don't know what they need or what to do or how to do it.
Yeah.
So, we treat insurance, differently. We don't think it's a commodity. We think there's value add of having a trusted advisor. And part of that is being there when we're needed, whether it's, a new home or a car change or something more important like a claim, and not knowing how to navigate through that process.
Yeah.
Or, an internal claims department, because we believe that's where we're needed the most.
Yeah. And I think one thing, I'm going to give you some props for something where I completely messed up. You had proactively called me to update my homeowner stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm busy. I'll get to it. I mean, I think you were following up with me. I want to say for like a year, but I was so busy, I just couldn't get to it. And then boom, there was like this, massive flood in the whole community. My basement was flooded, and my policy that I had was only like I think it was like what, a $5,000 or $10,000 policy. with $100,000 worth of damage. And had I switched, I would have been completely covered. And so my point is anybody, you can have the greatest advisors giving you advice, but you have to, and you kept on telling me like, Jon, stop and slow down and do it. You have to actually take their guidance and execute on things when they're guiding you. So just kind of talk about that, because I think a lot of times, people will not push their clients because they don't want their clients to get mad at them or annoyed with them. But I think it's a necessary thing.
Sure. It's a fine line to know what's the proper amount of follow-up and push versus being that hard sale and
Right.
all into, and a lot of it just goes to the relationship, and hopefully, you have that with a newer client. It's a little tougher to build. I'm not a high pressure guy by nature, but I will stress certain things like, hey, if you want this, that's okay, but understand this is your risk.
Yeah.
And is it really worth $100 difference, which might be dinner out one night for a $25,000 hit if it comes. In my mind, you buy the insurance. I'm a believer in buying insurance, not just selling it. I practice what I preach, but not everyone feels that way. Some people feel it's like, I just want to satisfy the bank or get the minimum that I need. Well, unfortunately, come claim time, that's where it hurts.
Yeah. And I would think in times of uncertainty, what does that do for your business, right? So right now it's just, there's uncertainty in the marketplace, right? And it seems to me that a lot of people are starting their own businesses. A lot of people don't have the insurance needs. I've been referring you a bunch of clients of people who are, whether they're in business, buying a business, succession planning, or this, saying, hey, like, have you thought about insurance? It amazes me how many people have not and do not, and almost think like, I didn't even know that was even an option. So I want to kind of give you a platform right now, not only to use right now in real time, but as people listen to this, like, what are some of the key elements that people should be thinking about when it comes to insurance and their business? I mean, you can talk
on the bit, yeah.
But just in general,
Sure.
so I think sometimes it's, people don't want to think about dying. They don't want to think about the end, but it's like, you got to be thinking about these things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I think the easiest thing people think about is the property or the equipment or the cars, some things that are physical, and insuring those. But in many cases, it's not their biggest risk. Their bigger risk is liability or, a wrongful termination or discrimination lawsuit or a cyber theft, which is a real hot topic now with, everything so much more being done virtually as opposed to in person. So those are really threats that people don't necessarily think about, but it's part of the discussion you have to have. Like, hey, what's your business model? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you doing? Especially with people moving away from maybe that traditional in-person retail sale. Now it's more virtual, online. So there's things to talk about and think about and work through.
But give me a list. I want you to hear the list, right? You got there's business insurance, there's cybersecurity insurance. Like, just bullet point a couple things. I want to spark people's awareness.
Sure. Your general business package will typically cover things like your personal property, your desks, your equipment, things of that nature, your general liability if someone comes on premises, slips and trips. A key portion of that is business interruption, which unfortunately a lot of people thought would be covered with COVID, but is not, but would be if there was a fire at the building or a tornado and you had to rent another location or were out of business for a period of time. But cyber liability is a huge thing where you may get an improper bank account. You transfer $100,000 for a deal and it's gone to China or Africa or someplace and you can't get it back.
Yeah.
Employment practice is a huge thing with wrongful termination, discrimination, all those type things. And that's it. Those are the huge topics and hot buttons right now in insurance.
Yeah. Okay, good.
And then again, professional liability, if you're doing anything like an attorney, a CPA, or a doctor, those type things. Malpractice.
All right, good. I mean, I know there's a lot more behind that, but people can reach out to you and call you. But I wanted to just give a quick gist to kind of jolt people. And so, all right, so we're sitting here. It's August 6th, about March 13th-ish. COVID began here, at least in United States. Talk to me about how you have been adapting and managing your team, not only through this to keep them positive, through this to keep them engaged, through this to keep them accountable, because we still have to do business, how have you adapted, and how are you continuing to adapt?
So we really quickly, fortunately, we had changed our technology a couple years ago to be prepared for work at home. Even though we weren't a work at home office, we were still a 100% in office type environment, and we had to change it literally overnight to get people set up at home. The infrastructure was there, but we had to get some laptops and help people through the process. And throughout the 90 days of the shutdown or so, we were all remote. There were maybe two or three of us that would come in the office a couple
Yeah,
times a week, but it was all remote. We still had to be available for our clients, a lot more via email. In the last 2 months, we're open in our office and about at a 25% staffing level to be able to ensure social distancing and safety, and we're rotating employees. The biggest thing I felt was missed during that time is just that energy and collaboration that you get by being together in the same
yeah,
office. You tried to recreate it, whether it's WebEx or Microsoft Teams or Zoom meetings, but you just lose that energy.
yeah,
Um, Seeing some of it come back, and but the biggest thing is finding a way to be there for our clients when they needed us, and
yeah.
I think we've managed that pretty well. I won't say it was perfect. There have been some speed bumps, but that's the bottom line. I mean, I've been able to interact with anyone who's needed to, and even with new clients, but I've only physically gone out on 3 visits in
Yeah.
the past 6 months,
Yeah.
which is a
Well,
huge change for me.
yeah, I was actually at a meeting this morning. I'm going to a meeting this afternoon. I was at a coffee, but I've only been to, as of end of today, like 5 in-person meetings, and it's actually great. I forgot I actually forgot how much I missed them. Right?
I mean, that's one of the things about being sales. You like that personal interaction,
Yeah,
and I know your personality. You're like that, and we had our first in-office interview yesterday. It
yeah.
was nice, but it was a big kind of culture shock
Right,
again.
right. The interview starts with somebody taking your temperature. Right.
Exactly.
So how do you think, and I don't know if necessarily you can answer this per se right now, not because you're not smart enough, you are, but I think it's like, it's happening so much in real time. How is your industry going to change from all of this? There's many studies pre-COVID that have talked about that 85% of the jobs that exist in the year 2030 do not exist today. 50% of 50% of the workforce will be freelancers by 2027, and 75% of the global workforce will be millennials by 2025. And so that was pre-COVID, and I think COVID accelerated a lot of this, and now industries are just changing very quickly and rapidly. How is your business and your industry going to change?
That's interesting because I'm not sure. Everyone I talk to still wants to get to some kind of personal contact, whether it's company employees coming in and meeting with us, or us being able to go to clients. There's still a lot of our employees that do want to come back to the office, but I think there's going to be a greater percentage that are going to want to have the availability to work from home. I think that's going
Yeah,
to. We always knew that was going to be a piece of our puzzle going forward, but again, to your point, I think it will be accelerated. Um, a
yeah,
lot of it's still unknown as to how, when, and what we're going to accomplish. But I think those are real talks that you're going to have, and have the capability to be able to service people however they want to be serviced.
yeah,
And that's definitely been accelerated in any industry. And there's a lot that are going to change, and there's still so much uncertainty. I mean,
yeah,
if a vaccine comes out in the next 6-12 months, are people going to start going back to live events and theater and shows and
yeah.
sporting events, things that we all miss and are part of our daily life?
Yeah. On Sunday, Joanna and I and the kids ordered MGR. You can now DoorDash MJR. And so a buddy of mine who actually owns Jan Pro, who sells supplies for anybody who needs masks, Jared. Anyway, he posted it. So we got like this huge thing of popcorn, candy. I mean, we got everything you could possibly imagine.
We went on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it was great, but it wasn't like having it at the movie theater.
Right.
It wasn't like having it at the movie theater. So let me ask you this. So I hear what you're talking about the industry. I hear what you're talking about your business and how you're doing things. How have you changed? Like, what have you learned about just yourself through COVID?
That I really miss that personal interaction. I just don't think there's any substitute for it. It's one of the things I've really enjoyed about my job is both the interaction with, my staff and my employees, my team, but also the partners we have at the insurance companies, and just getting out and seeing what their business looks like firsthand and having that interaction. Yeah, I can, review the policies and do all the work I need to, but having that interaction and other stuff, it's just a part of the piece of the puzzle that I missed.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hearing and seeing that a lot in organizations that I coach all over the country, and so I'm actually seeing an uptick in online trainings and online keynotes, and it's like I find myself doing like coming into sales meetings via Zoom and weekly company meetings, and just to kind of give another voice, so people can get a little bit more inspired and just have another element of energy when it comes to feeling connected, which I think is really important. All right, so let me ask you this: so the industry has changed. This has changed. What's one secret that what's your JJ special sauce? I want to go back to kind of like 30 years ago, and right now kids are graduating college in a totally different world than they thought, right? And so what's one thing that you would, the advice that you would give college kids graduating today that you wish you knew 30 years ago when you graduated college?
Sure. I think right now, with millennials, especially in the new graduates, they think that they can just go online and do everything. I think having someone to kind of guide them and give them some advice as to why this is important or why that isn't important, instead of going just to a website or an online number or 800 number or whatever. I just think that's so important. And whether it's a business coach or a life coach or some other mentor, I think those are important things to lean on. And, I was fortunate I had my dad, because I went into business with my dad. He was that person for me. But I think for people just to have that access to bounce ideas off of is so critical.
Yeah, I agree.
I think a lot of people try and do it on their own, and they're going to make mistakes, which is okay. That's how you learn. You learn more from your mistakes. But if you have that person that you can go to, or multiple people, your team, so to speak, I just think you're so much better off.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big believer. We all need a minimum of 3 mentors. It's critical to the growth, helping us make decisions, helping us accelerate our growth. I mean, it's great. All right, JJ, quick speed round. Favorite book and why?
Oh boy, any mystery, thriller, suspense thing, anything by John Grisham, just something to kind of escape. I love the business books, but they get my mind racing more, and I need to unwind more. So reading is one of those escapes for me.
Yeah. To unwind for me, I've been watching Curb Your Enthusiasm and Friends. Like, it's like right on the news. There's so much like you need a mental break from a lot of it.
Right.
Yeah. Best piece of advice your dad ever gave you?
Just be honest and open with people. Integrity is number one.
Yeah. Best golf course you've ever played?
Pebble Beach.
Okay. JJ, I mean, I know you're a big golfer.
Yeah.
So, and have you ever gotten how many hole-in-ones have you gotten?
0 hole-in-ones.
0?
0.
Shocked to hear that.
I'm still waiting, and it's not for lack of trying.
I'm shocked and I'm disappointed. I'm kidding.
I'm disappointed too.
All right, last question, JJ. What is, or last 2 questions. If what's one piece of advice you would give somebody in business right now that's just feeling stuck?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd say go back to one simple thought or process and just try and really execute that thought or process. Sometimes you got to dumb it down or simplify things, and just concentrate on being really either an expert or proficient at one thing and one simple idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get caught up in trying to do too much at one time.
Yeah. Well, so that's great advice. And define yourself in one word.
Happy.
All right. Tell everybody, JJ, how they can get a hold of you.
www.getkig.com, email jjr@getkig.com, and my direct dial 248-350-5807.
All right.
Happy to help in any way I can.
JJ, always fun catching up with you. We got to get out and golf before the end of the season. Appreciate all the great stuff you've done for me and my family and everybody that I refer to you. Thanks for being on the show. I always learn something new from you. So thanks so much, my friend.
Great talk, John. Look forward to the next time.